Hello, it's me again. So, I wrote myself a note last night, and I remember making a video. Not all of it, but I rewatched it 3 times. And I know I talked a lot about my life, and I'm glad I did, because I think that it will give people a maybe a better understanding of what can happen. And so I know I said that in the video that I would do year 1. Well, I don't remember year 1. So I was sitting here and I thought, okay, what can I make a video about that's actually helpful, informational, and not some long diatribe of something that's not really relevant. And I really want to help people, because nobody should be stuck the way that I was. So what I'm going to talk about today is looking at my notes, because I have to write everything down. So I guess the first thing would be is that if to let people know that I do have a seizure condition. And so I'm not saying that if you get stuck with some asshole like I did, that it's going to affect your memory the way it did mine. But some of my issue is honestly because I have stress-induced seizures. And so when I get upset, apparently I go down like a ton of bricks. Sometimes they're minor, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're medium-sized. There's no rhyme or reason. But that doesn't help with the memory thing either. So I guess starting with this is things can happen. And the reason I am saying this is because it's important that you guys understand that when you're around someone who's a narcissist or bipolar, or not saying it's all bipolar, I am no psychiatrist at all. All I'm trying to do is tell you people what it's like to be around someone like that. And you can go round and round and round and round and round and round in circles. And what I'm here to tell you is that if someone hurts your feelings, like out and out just insults the shit out of you, or is so careless or tactless that they don't give a shit whether they hurt your feelings or not, because hey, they're going to be there. And that's what it was like. He knew I'd be there, so he could act, behave, say, or do anything, and he knew I wasn't going anywhere. So unfortunately, I learned this, but not unfortunately, I should say fortunately, I learned this, because if I ever run across anyone who does this to me, ever, I will run the opposite direction. So, you know, when, let's say someone says something that hurts your feelings, and you say, you know what? I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm going to say something back, because it was either uncalled for, rude, or whatever. But remember this, you have the right. You have the right to say that hurt my feelings. You can speak your feelings. It's okay to speak your feelings in any relationship, whether it be friendship, whatever it is. If they hurt your feelings, you have a right to speak up. You don't have to sit back and take it, and you do not have to feel wrong for saying anything. But I guarantee this, anybody who's watching this, if they've ever dealt with a narcissist, or no offense to anybody else who is bipolar, but the person I dealt with did not take his medicine. Refused to take his medicine because, he was just fine and the doctor was wrong. But yet he'd take his medicine for about 2 to 3 weeks and he'd just start to feeling better, and then he would stop taking it. Or the doctor would prescribe him 2 different types of medication and he'd say, well, I only need this one. Yeah. So if you're properly medicated and you're bipolar, I'm sure you're just fine. This is not downing anybody who's bipolar. This is trying to explain to anybody else who happens to run across this magnificent storm of shit that can happen when you're with somebody who's not mentally okay. But if you have an argument, not an argument, but even a discussion, just any kind of a discussion, and like I said, they hurt your feelings, and when you talk to them back and you say, hey, you know what? As calm as can be, that really hurt my feelings. Or, why would you say that? And if they look at you and say, well, what do you mean? And then you have to further explain yourself and reiterate what it was that was said. And they say, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you must be mistaken. You didn't hear me right. That I didn't say that. That's not what I meant. Why would you think that? Why would you take it that way? That right there. Classic manipulation. I got caught trying to fuck you over because I was a dickhead and said the wrong thing, and you called me on it. You called me out on my bullshit, and now I'm going to fight with you and make you feel that you were wrong. And no. You should never, ever, 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 ever have to apologize to anyone for something that they did to you or said to you that hurt your feelings. Meaning that if you spoke up for yourself and you tried to let them know that they hurt your feelings, and then they tried to sit there and tell you that that's not how you get to feel, that you were wrong. No, they're wrong. They're wrong. That's really important, because that's what causes those arguments or discussions that never seem to end. It doesn't matter whether or not you said, okay, well, let's give an example. And let's say you're out to dinner and you pick whatever off the menu, okay, and you get it and you look at it and you're like, well, shit, that's black. And there's no question that it's black. Like looking at the edges of your phone or the color crayon black, and you clearly see that it's black. You know it's black. The whole fucking world knows it's black, right? And you say, well, shit, that's black. And then the other person says, no, it's not. That's gray. And you go, no, it's black. It's clearly black. And they say, no, it's gray. And you're like, screw this. I ain't fighting over this. This is bullshit. I ain't doing it, right? So then a little while goes by. And now they're perturbed because you questioned them. See, you're not allowed to question them either. So you question them. So you think everything's okay for a little while. And then it comes back up again. Now, why would you think that that was black when I clearly told you that that was gray? What's wrong with you? You know that's gray. It's gray. It's not black. It's gray. And they try to drive the point home that what you saw was not what you saw. Not okay. You have to be confident. And you can't kowtow. You fight them. Don't shut up. Speak your mind. Don't be afraid to be the bitch. Speak your mind. Say, you know what? No, that's not it. This is an extremely important lesson. Don't give up because you don't want to fight. That's what I did. I didn't want to fight. I don't like to fight. I just wanted a calm evening, but I didn't want to fight about whether or not it was black or gray. Because you learn over a period of years to tailor what you say and be very, very careful of what you speak about, because you have to think it through your mind, and you're like, okay, before you say anything, could this be misconstrued in any way? Can they fight with you about this? If you just are real calm and you just say, okay, well, that was black, it doesn't matter, because they will always find a way, because they're antagonistic. And this particular person was extremely antagonistic, chauvinistic, always wanted to be right, and he didn't care if he kept you up for hours and hours and hours and running you around by your nose, because you're still trying to, because stupid you, because they keep bringing it up, you still think in your mind, well, hey, I know I can show him that was gray. It wasn't white. Black. Or it was black, not gray. There we go. And it's not going to work that way. They're never going to see it. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Don't waste your breath. You might as well just go stick your head in a pool, because you're never going to explain to them why. Because they know already. They're just fucking with you. And that's the most important thing to understand. There's something inherently wrong with them when they're that way, because it is called narcissistic personality disorder, meaning they have a disorder. And if you get unlucky and manage to be married to a bipolar person too, that's a narcissistic bipolar person, holy shit, that is a shitstorm you don't want. And the fights that never end, the arguments that never end, ever, they never end. It doesn't matter. You can never end the argument, but the only way you can end the argument to make it stop, because it'll never stop, is until you say this: I'm sorry. You're right. I'm wrong. It is gray. It's not black. Because you don't want to fight no more. And see, they're not happy with you just apologizing because you don't want to fight no more. No, 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 no. No, you have to take it even one step further. You then have to apologize because you started the fight in the first place, which you actually didn't start the fight. All you did, if you remember correctly, was you said, hey, that's black. That is a perfect example of what it's like dealing with someone like that. And then for the rest of the evening or the rest of the night, you apologize your ass off and you're like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't want the night to go this way. I'm sorry. I know you wanted the evening to go a different way. I'm so sorry. And then after you've apologized enough, then and only then will they sometimes accept it. Sometimes you're lucky if they accept it that night. But in my case, no. They give you the silent treatment. I'm not going to talk to you for days. And I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to give you any love at all. But goddamn, you better make sure that my lunch is made, my clothes are washed, the kids are taken care of, the house is clean, you go to job, you do everything you need to do. But they feel justified that they can treat you that way because, once again, you made the mistake of saying that that was black. But you didn't know they were going to say it was gray, because what was obvious to you and the rest of the world, they're well aware of. But that's how they regain and keep their superiority above you, is being able to rule that over you. And so after a period of time when they run you round and round and round and round and round and round, over and over and over again, half the time you don't know what's fucking up and what's down. You don't. You just give up. You're like, it's not worth it. And then you learn real quickly. Real quickly. Don't fight. Do whatever you can. Don't fight. Don't fight. But the problem is that no matter how careful you are, outside influences or other things, you might slip up and say the wrong thing, but you're not really slipping up. All you're doing is just saying something. But you have to be so careful of what you say. And I think the best part of all of this, that they're never wrong. I know for a fact that if this certain person sees any of these videos, they will start laughing. Like, I didn't do that. They're crazy, because that's the first thing they want to tell you. They're crazy. And that's what he used to do to me, is when, after I damaged my head so many times with bashing my head on the floor and seizures and stuff, Heather, you're crazy. You're crazy. That's not true. That you're crazy. So much to the point that the second visit, when I went to the psychologist, I was so scared that I was crazy. Literally, I was absolutely fucking petrified that I was fucking crazy. And I was sitting there in his office, I remember, and I looked at him and I said, how do you know if somebody's crazy? Really, how do you know? And he looked at me and he said, Heather, do you feel you're crazy? And I said, I think I'm honestly crazy. And he goes, why would you think that? And I said, because no matter what I say, I'm always wrong. I can't do the right thing, no matter how hard I try. And I don't remember the whole context, obviously, of the conversation, but I remembered asking him that. Certain things stick in my memory. Other things don't. But this one did. And he says, why do you question your sanity? And I said, because. And I know I gave a few examples. And he looked at me and he said, Heather, do you realize that a crazy person never, ever, ever questions their sanity because they think they're just fine? And I went, what do you mean by that? And he said, because if you were thinking in your right mind, you would never question your sanity. And he's right. Because if you sit back and question your sanity and go, God, am I insane? Holy shit, am I thinking right? What's going on? Am I okay? You're smart enough to understand that, hey, I need to think about this. But, the crazy person, if you want to call him that, I don't know the technical term for it or whatever. And I really don't care about being politically correct. They can kiss my ass. I'm going to say crazy. And if you're offended by that, fuck off. Don't watch my video, but that's crazy, okay? Because they don't think they are. They think everything they do is fine. They don't ever question it. And that's what led me to thinking I was crazy. It was the round and round and round, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you know, apologizing and getting mistreated for several days or a month. All because you said it was black and they said it was gray. That shit can last for months. So if you find yourself in that situation where you're trying to explain to somebody, now mind you, that don't mean losing your shit, screaming at them and hollering and screaming and cussing and losing your crap. No, that means that if you're literally sitting there in a genuine conversation, you're like, no, that's gray, or that's black. And they're like, no, you're wrong. And you know, because you know if you're right or wrong. I mean, 95% of the time, you know if you're right or wrong, okay? And something as obvious as that, you're going to know. So don't question yourself. Don't doubt yourself. The best thing to do is to walk away. Don't even let it get there. Don't get to the fight. Don't ever let it get there. Just step back and say, whatever you think it is. And don't say another word. Don't try to start another conversation. Don't try to do anything. Just shut up. And better yet, get the fuck away from them. That's where it starts. I never wanted to fight. I didn't want that violence. I didn't want that feeling. You know, the only thing I wanted to do is wake up in the morning, make him a cup of coffee, make some breakfast, and just have a calm morning or afternoon or evening. I didn't want to fight. But it doesn't work that way. So just remember, if you say it's black, they say it's gray, and the whole goddamn world can see that it's black, and they're telling you it's gray, or better yet, white. In his case, it would be white. No, that's white. Completely opposite. Because it can't be misconstrued as both. It has to be a clear definition. So I would say instead of gray, I use the word gray through all this. No, it has to be white. Something that's that clear and that obvious. Black, white. Black, white. So if you know it's black, because it's pitch black and everybody knows black, and they're going to know it's white, don't fall for it. That's where it starts. Things like that. Because that's where they want that fight to never end. That's where they want it to go round and round and round and round. They keep you in that constant state of always apologizing because all you're doing is patting their ass with their ego. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And you know what? I could honestly go the rest of my whole fucking life and never say I'm sorry. But you know what happens? After years and years and years of doing that, you say you're sorry for the stupidest shit. You don't even know why you're saying sorry, but you see someone upset or disgruntled or anything because they've got you so trained, literally trained, that anytime you see them the slightest bit upset, the first thing you say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. How can I fix it? Because that's what it was like with him. Things I couldn't even control. See, this is how my memory works. I just thought of something. We went to Red Robin, probably about 4 years ago at least. And we had the kids with us. And he liked his Whiskey River burger, but he didn't like the onion straws on it. And he ordered his own burger, mind you, and said no onion straws. How funny is that? I don't even remember what I fucking ordered. And I was sitting there, and his burger came out, and it had the onion straws on it. And all he had to do was sigh. He went and grabbed the bun and tossed it off to the side. And he took his fork and started picking the onion straws off of his fucking burger. And the first thing I did was, I'm sorry, what can I do to fix it? How can I fix it? You know why I was that way? Because I knew right then and there that the whole goddamn evening just went out the window. It didn't matter if I kissed his ass. It didn't matter what I did. Because that's how they are. They look for any excuse, any reason to be dissatisfied with you. And that's how it was. And I was right. I don't remember the whole evening clearly, but I remember that. And I didn't even put the fucking onion straws on there. He ordered his own goddamn burger. But I'm sitting there apologizing. I'm like, let me have her make you another one. We can get this fixed. And it was, no, I don't want to wait for another hamburger. Can't they ever get anything right? And then he sat there and fumed. And so the whole meal, my stomach was upset. And I was sitting there and the kids were looking around. Why? Because he'd even trained the children to the point that as soon as dad showed any sort of dissatisfaction, that was not how it was supposed to be. Those are the things you look for. But if it gets to that point, unfortunately, you're sunk. You're screwed. You're not just screwed, you're fucked. You better figure out a way out. But you're not going to get out easily. But that's for another day. But I want you to focus on those things. If you know for a fact it's black, they say it's white, they want to argue, you apologize, stop talking. Don't say a fucking thing. Just back off. Because you're going to be wrong no matter what. You will never, ever, ever get through to them. Ever. 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 Don't live like that. Nobody should have to live that way. That's why this video is important. And I'm sure as time goes on, I'm going to remember more shit. But I remember through smells or music or sounds. Sometimes I'll remember things like that. For some reason, it flooded into my mind. And I can remember sitting there and I can remember how I felt. And I can remember the looks on the faces of my children. They never said a word. They were happy, laughing, talking back and forth, eating their macaroni. They were fine. And then he did that. And it changed the whole atmosphere. The whole ride back to the house, everybody was quiet. The kids didn't make a sound. Because they knew better. But if you ask him today, it'll be, I don't know what you're talking about. So, if it's black, it's black. Don't let somebody tell you that it's white. Because that's how it starts. And that's just one of numerous examples. But I'm hoping I drive the point home. Don't apologize. And the last thing is, honestly, don't let them tell you how you're supposed to feel after they've hurt you. Whether it be physically or mentally, verbally, whatever. They don't get that right. But they do that so that they don't ever have to suffer the repercussions of what they've done. So I think that's a good starting point for people. Don't give up. Back off. Walk away. Don't say anything. Because if you don't say anything, you can't be argued with. But on the other hand, truthfully, when you're in that situation, then you'll get ridiculed because you didn't say anything. Because you just shut up. And that's what I did. I'd just be quiet. I wouldn't say a goddamn thing after that. So that's the true definition of you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So remember, smarten up, people. Bye.